locals only.
I grew up here.
Don't live here. Don't surf here.
Very excited to chat about this film, especially now that I've gotten to see it after South by. And first and foremost, though, I'd love to hear, I mean, you got to be there with the crowd seeing this movie in Austin. What was it like coming out of that experience?
Yeah, it was cool. A great audience. I love South by Southwest and Austin in general. So yeah, it was cool, and it was received well. And Nick told some good stories on stage. So yeah, it was a good time for everyone.
It really was, and I loved watching Nick go off on stage, especially since we weren't sure if he was going to be there because I heard he was sick that day, but I'm glad he was there. And but talking about this film now, I'd love to hear, one thing that really intrigued me about the beach. We talked about it at South by, how it's almost its own character, and it almost seems like it sort of draws this cycle of violence and tragedy around it. I know we don't want to get into spoilers too much, but I'm curious if that was sort of like an intentional thematic discussion on yours and your writer's part.
Yeah, definitely. The beach almost has this haunting beauty to it, and the waves down there are actually pretty violent. They look beautiful and crisp, but they're heavy and they smash down. So I think in an earlier draft of the film, there was it was written in that the beach had this almost like supernatural hold over him, and there was a sound called a thrum in the script that kind of drew him towards it, and that there'd been like cycles of violence that took place on the beach, including massacre of indigenous people, which is real all around that area, all over the west and east coast of Australia. But we ended up, refining the script. There was no need for all of that as well. It was complicating the themes that we were trying to actually bore down into. There's a little bit of it still with Miranda Tapsell's character saying, you don't belong here. So finding a place that could give off that vibe, you could only really get that by going there and scouting lots of places. And then when you're there, you just get this feeling that it has just a kind of a vibe to it,
I really can only imagine. I mean, again, the way y'all captured it in the film is absolutely beautiful. Now you talk about the avoiding the supernatural element of it. And one thing I did find kind of intriguing was the musical score for this film, because it really does have that sort of operatic sound of like an old giallo movie, so to speak. And I'm curious how much that was from Francois just on his own, or if that was you two collaborating and discussing what kind of vibe you wanted from the music.
Yeah, Francois sent like some sketches based on just the script originally. And he did come up with a kind of kind of a melody, but it was in a very different kind of tone. It was more electronic. But there was something about it because he'd actually been on that beach when he was young. And not that many people have even been to Western Australia, never mind on that particular beach. And he'd spent Christmas there and had gone walking on the beach on his own. And so he had a connection with it too. And then we both were collecting music and sharing it back and forth. And one thing that kind of clicked was Exotica, which was sort of created by a guy called Martin Denny, who made music that was evocative of being somewhere exotic, being on holidays, but without actually using any indigenous instrumentation or anything like that. Just kind of created this illusion of a place that doesn't actually exist. So coming at it from Nick's character's point of view, he has this nostalgic, warped memory of his childhood in this beautiful place. So the music was almost like a reflection of that. So once we kind of discovered that, we could go quite big with the music, and it really kind of played into the psychological aspect. And also I think Nick's character is kind of a dreamer, kind of a romantic in the movie in a way. He thinks that things can be fixed. He thinks that he'll get his wife back. He's eternally optimistic, really. So the music kind of goes hand in hand with that.
Well, I love the various methods that you used to capture that dreamlike nature to it, that you and your team, and I can't wait for people to get the chance to see it and to keep spreading the word about it. I know I've done it after South by, but I do love this film, so I look forward to keeping the word alive. Thank you again for taking the time, Lorcan.
Thanks. Good to see you again.
Now, like engines, we've got to release a little steam now and then, or you'll blow up.